Kikyo and Sana are key central characters in the mangas Inuyasha and MAO respectively. Each plays a central role in driving plot and setting up the conflicts in their stories. Both series were written by the same author, and although MAO is much more obscure at the time of writing, there are key parallels between MAO and Inuyasha, with Kikyo and Sana occupying similar and often parallel roles in their respective narratives. Rumiko Takahashi is one of the most influential and widely read manga authors in the world. Known for blending fantasy, romance, action, and comedy, she has created many characters who have left deep impressions on readers. Rumiko Takahashi's female leads often carry the emotional center of her stories, and Kikyo and Sana exemplify this pattern. Observing them together reveals how recurring motifs, duty, love, and sacrifice, are refracted through different life circumstances, producing resonant but distinct portraits of feminine resilience and tragedy. Kikyo and Sana are both star characters in works written by the same author. Kikyo and Sana are characters from the series Inuyasha and MAO respectively, and they play similar roles in their stories. When examined closely, Kikyo and Sana share striking parallels in the roles they play and the themes they embody. However, in spite of the similarities, they also have key differences between them. Both characters occupy similar positions in their narratives. Women whose lives are bound up with forces beyond their control, whose relationships with the male leads shape much of the story's emotional weight, and whose tragic circumstances highlight the cost of fate and duty. However, despite the similarities, there are also key differences between them. Their contrasting lives reveal how Takahashi has returned to similar themes across her career, yet explored them from different perspectives. One woman's tragedy grows from devotion and public service, the others from uneasy comfort and the corrosive secrets of family. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. Kikyo's life was marked from childhood by duty. From a young age, she had to guard the Shikon Jewel, a powerful and dangerous object coveted by demons and humans alike. She spent most of her life training as a priestess, dedicating herself to protecting the jewel and those around her. This path left little room for ordinary joys. She never got to live a normal life, never got to relax or be carefree. Her existence was one of vigilance and sacrifice. Yet Kikyo carried out her role dutifully despite the isolation and the heavy toll it took on her. She was fundamentally kind and caring, dedicating her powers to helping people and striking only against evil. In that sense, her role as a priestess gave her a sense of meaning. She could at least use her spiritual powers to protect others. Her immense ability to purify evil was both her blessing and her burden. Kikyo's personal tragedy was intertwined with her relationship with Inuyasha. She and Inuyasha fell deeply in love, each seeing in the other a chance for a more normal and fulfilling life. Yet the demon Yurako cruelly manipulated them, tricking them into believing that they had betrayed each other. The result was catastrophic. Kikyo died heartbroken and alone, consumed by feelings of betrayal. In her final moments, Kikyo still chose self-sacrifice. She attempted to rid the world of the jewel once and for all, even if it meant her own death. The jewel later returned largely due to the Kagome's time travel, but without Kagome's time travel, her sacrifice might have worked. Her story did not end there. Kikyo was later revived in a body sustained by borrowed souls. At first, she was consumed by bitterness, even lashing out at Inuyasha in anger for what she believed was his betrayal. But once she learned the truth, she eased up. Still, she could not escape her sorrow. She wandered the land in a half-living state, witnessing the man she loved now traveling with Kagome, watching her love get stolen by a better version of herself. Kikyo's revival thus became a cruel fate. She was granted a second chance at life, only to watch her love slip away forever. Kikyo's story is one of devotion, duty, and ultimate tragedy. Her life embodies sacrifice in its purest sense. She gave up everything, including happiness and love, for the sake of her role. That is why her bitterness upon revival is so understandable. She had already done enough, and death should have been the end of it. Sana from MAO presents an almost inverted version of Kikyo's path. Unlike Kikyo, Sana lived a life of relative comfort and privilege. She did not spend her youth in constant vigilance. Her role in her family was largely passive. She only had to exist as part of her clan's position in society, without direct burdens placed upon her shoulders. On the surface, she lived a life free of hardship. Yet beneath the comfort she was unsettled. Her family was involved in dark practices that harmed others, and Sana could not ignore the sense of unease this gave her. The violence and cruelty of her clan eventually reached her personally. She fell in love with Dago, but he was killed during one of the clan's internal power struggles. This loss devastated her. Her reaction was not outward violence. Sana experienced a blood-curdling rage, but endured it quietly and passively. Eventually, during the chaotic events that led to Mao's curse and her family's downfall, Sana herself was killed. Despite her privilege, she became a victim of the very schemes and machinations that had destroyed so many others. Sana's life thus forms a sharp contrast to Kikyo's. Where Kikyo spent her life in active duty, Sana's tragedy comes from passivity. From being trapped within a corrupt family system, she could not escape. Yet like Kikyo, her death left a profound impact on the male lead. Mao, just as Inuyasha, grieved for Kikyo, carried the weight of Sana's loss. At this point in the video, I'm going to talk about mild spoilers. If you want to avoid them, then skip ahead to the point indicated on the screen. Sana's tragedy is amplified by the presence of her twin sister, Yurako. Whereas Sana lived a life of comfort, Yurako endured only suffering. From birth, Yurako was confined to a dark underground cave. Her role was to absorb curses and negative energy for the sake of the family, sacrificing her health and happiness so others could live free of that burden. Her life was one of confinement, restriction, and pain. She never received the respect or appreciation Kikyo had earned, nor the comfort Sana had enjoyed. Instead, she lived in secret, carrying the cost of her family's survival. When she finally met Mao, Yurako briefly experienced connection and hope. In the Tashell era, she later reemerges. Later, when she encounters Nanoka, she bitterly recounted her life of suffering. Her complaints may have been misplaced. Nanoka bore no responsibility for Yurako's pain, but they reveal just how deeply and embittered she had become. Yurako's character adds another layer to Takahashi's exploration of roles within systems of duty. If Kikyo represents the devoted protector, and Sana the uneasy, passive participant, then Yurako represents the hidden victim, someone who bears all the burdens without recognition or reward. So what do we know about Sana and Yurako so far? Sana likes to wear ribbons in her hair, while Yurako has curly hair, almost like a cloud. Sana's own hair may also be naturally curly, but its great length weighs it down to appear straighter. Yurako wears ornaments in her hair, and her taste in decoration is frilly and flowery. Their personalities, too, are expressive. Both sisters are emotional, and openly display their feelings. So, if only there were an earlier Rumiko Takahashi character that liked to wear ribbons or hair ornaments in her hair and had curly hair. An earlier character that had a frilly, flowery sense of home decor, along with a tendency to lament past hardships, and had a very emotional, temperamental personality. This way we could use that character for comparison and further analysis. Oh well. By contrast, Kikyo is more restrained, stoic, and duty-bound. She rarely reveals her emotions and carries herself with solemn dignity. Sana and Yurako, while more openly emotional, are also more calculating and caution than another Takahashi character, such as Ran from Urusei Yatsura, who often rushes into situations without thinking. Sana and Yurako lack Kikyo's early devotion to helping others, yet they also avoid Ran's reckless impulsiveness. They occupy a middle ground, emotional yet deliberate, expressive yet weighed down by caution. The parallels between Kikyo and Sana reveal Takahashi's ongoing interest in themes of fate, love, and sacrifice. Both characters are women whose lives are defined by forces larger than themselves, whether the sacred jewel, a cursed clan, or manipulative enemies. Both form deep bonds with the male leads, only to be lost tragically, leaving the men haunted by grief. Yet the differences show how Takahashi's storytelling has evolved. Kikyo's tale from the late 90s reflects a classic tragic heroine, noble, duty-bound, and betrayed by circumstances beyond her control. Sana's story emerges decades later, reflects a more subtle exploration of privilege, complicity, and suppression of emotion. Where Kikyo's tragedy comes from her role as protector, Sana's comes from her inability to escape her family's corruption. The third character, meanwhile, expands the scope further. By including a member of the clan who bore the silent suffering of the family, Takahashi highlights how often individuals find themselves in roles of sacrifice and endurance, with their pain unseen by the wider world. Kikyo and Sana may belong to different series, but together they demonstrate the thematic through lines in Rumiko Takahashi's body of work. Both are tragic figures whose relationships shape the emotional core of their stories. Both reveal the heavy cost of fate and the cruelty of forces beyond one's control. Yet their differences, Kikyo's life of active duty versus Sana's life of uneasy privilege, reveal how Takahashi has used different character frameworks to explore similar questions across decades of storytelling. When paired with the third character, the picture becomes even richer. We see three people, each bound by fate in different ways. One respected but isolated, one comfortable but unsettled, and one hidden away in suffering. Together they form a tapestry of tragic figures whose lives and deaths continue to haunt the world they inhabited. In the end, what makes Kikyo and Sana compelling is not just their similarities, but the way their differences illuminate the flexibility of Rumiko Takahashi's storytelling. She can revisit the same themes, love, loss, fate, sacrifice, and still create characters who feel distinct and deeply human. It is the ability to weave familiar ideas into new forms that has kept her work alive and relevant for generations of readers. Which character is your favorite? Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Oh, and let me just mention that in the description or comments, there'll be a link to a playlist of Ran's OSTs I found, if anyone's interested.